Firstly, an apology. I am the numpty that forgot to turn the audio volume up on the recording device while I was recording this video, so the audio may sound a little false. I'm recording it and trying to patch it in after the event, but hopefully you'll still get the idea. Today we're going to be fitting engine bars to R1250GS TE. The bars I'm fitting come from Nippy Norman's, who's probably one of the primary sellers of aftermarket accessories for BMWs. I've taken these in the stainless steel finish. They're available, I believe, in black, white and blue finishes as well, so if you had an exclusive you might want to have black because you have a black engine and a black frame. If you've got the HP coloured Rally, then you may want the blue or the white derivatives, but I just felt that the stainless ones suited mine well. The box, as you can see, comes with a pair of engine bars, a left and a right, instructions in German and English. They're fairly comprehensive and the English is pretty good, and a pack of bolts, nuts and washers with a pack of ceramic grease and some thread lock. The two tools that you see there are a Torx 50-bit and a Torx 45-bit, which don't come with the set, but those are the two tools we're going to use to fit them. The bars are a 3-point fixing, one at the front high up, one at the front low down, one at the rear low down. They do also have a strengthening strut between the two. I haven't been able to get that yet because Nippy Normans don't physically have it in stock, but I will get that when it's available, and that effectively joins the two bars together across the front. Okay, so let's go outside and see how this all fits on the bike. Okay, outside with the bike, and you can see it's a pretty standard R1250GS. I like to keep the bike on the centre stand when I'm doing these types of things because we are going to be taking off at least one bolt from the frame, and of course the engine forms part of the frame, so we just need to be a little bit careful, and I like to keep it on the centre stand. Okay, so we've zoomed in a little bit here on the side of the bike, and we can just about see all the fixings for the crash bars. So we'll be taking off this front Torx 50 bolt from the bottom front mounting of the frame. This is on the right hand side of the bike, of course, and we'll be reusing that bolt. We'll also, just about in the top of the shot there by the radiator hose, you can see there's an M8 hole. There's the one where we'll put the bolt and the lock nut on the other side with the grease, and down at the bottom here we can see an M10 threaded hole where we'll be putting the front bottom mounting of the crash bar. I would imagine that those two front holes, which at the moment don't have any bolts in, are probably ones that are used on the GS Adventure model, which has bars fitted as standard. So focusing in here on the bottom rear frame mounting, we're going to take the front bolt out from here. It's an M10 bolt with a Torx 50 head, and we're going to reuse the bolt. Now we have an M10 by 40 bolt which we're going to reuse on this side. Okay, so now we're going to offer up the bars to the bike, because effectively now we've got all the bolts out. The back bolt we've just taken out and the other ones don't have any bolts on either, so you can just about see there that the bracket fits on the back one there, and then on the bottom one here in an M10 bolt, and up at the top, actually out of shot, you'll be able to see the fitting there, which is just a straight hole with an M8, and that just goes straight the way through the frame and bolts through using a 30mm bolt and a lock nut. Okay, so we're going to now take the original bolt, the M10 by 40, and using the thread lock from the kit that's supplied with the bars, we'll just apply a small amount of thread lock to this bolt and put that back in. It needs to be torqued up, I believe, to just under 50 Newton meters. So just offering up the crash bars to the rear bolt, and we're going to put all of these in first of all hand tight because there's quite a lot of manoeuvring needs doing to pull these fittings into place. So there we go, that's the back bolt in. Okay, so now we'll put the bottom front bolt in. It's an M50 by 40 bolt with a spacer and a washer. Obviously the washer is going to go on the outside. The spacer is going to go between the clamp and the engine. So we thread lock the bolt using the thread lock we've got there. Now you need to be a bit careful here because the engine is aluminium, the bolt is stainless steel, so sometimes this can take a bit of manoeuvring, which is why we don't actually tighten these down until right at the very end. But you'll see here that I do struggle a little bit to get this one straight, and I want to be very sure that it screws in relatively easily, because I definitely don't want to cross thread it and have trouble with the threads in the side of the engine. So now we're going to fit the final fitting, which is the top front fitting. This is an M8 by 30 bolt with a Torx 45 head, and it's got a washer either side and a lock nut. The bracket there is fed on the inside of the frame bracket. Now we use the ceramic grease paste for this, so this comes with the kit. Just coat that gently in the grease, and that'll stop any seizing of that particular bolt. I'm not quite sure why it does it, but the instructions say to do it, and I wanted to thread lock the other ones. So this one doesn't have thread lock, incidentally, because obviously it's greased. So carefully putting the washer on one side, feeding it into the hole at the top of the frame, and pushing it through the frame and the bracket. Takes a little bit of wriggling, which again is why we leave those just hand tight, the remaining fasteners, and then just putting the washer and the lock nut on the rear before tightening everything up. So finally we'll get the torque wrench out and torque these up to their respective torque settings. Both this back one that you see me doing now and the front one are both M10, both going into aluminium, so I'm pretty sure those go in at 45 Newton meters, and then the top one, which is an M8, goes to, I believe, 25. It does tell you in the instructions pretty clearly, but if you follow those instructions you won't be far wrong. So we've moved to the left hand side of the bike now, and as you can see this has a side stand here. We've got to take this front bolt out the same as we did the other side, but because the side stand protrudes and the side stand bracket is angled, a spacer needs to go behind that and the longer bolt needs to be used, that again is completely supplied with the kit. So this is the detail after that bolt's fitted, obviously not tightened yet, but you can see the spacer between the frame and the engine bar bracket. So there we are, that's the bars fitted. They're complete left and right. You'll be able to see here the bracket for the strut, which will join the bars together when Nippy Normans have got them in stock. They're strong without it, but I'd like to fit that, so I'll get that when it's done. You can see the lean angle isn't affected very much. I think if I get to the point where I'm scraping the bars, I'm in trouble anyway. And the rocker covers seem to come off without having to remove the bars, but it's only a small amount of work if you have to. So that's it. If you've enjoyed this, like it, subscribe, ring the bell so you can see any other videos I make. Thanks a lot.